Okay, so this is my summary of all my journals for ENC 1102 Miss Snodgrass. So for the first journal, we discussed what narrative does the absence of people convey in a space of emptiness in a street. And I said the absence of people conveys silence and peace and can resemble abandonment of new beginnings, as you can see right here. I also said these spaces display urbanization and the development of how urbanization has taken the center stage of this world and how it's making streets and places more attractive and more livable. Or you can see it as it doesn't make the city attractive and livable because emptiness displays a lack of humanity. So for Journal 2, we were discussing a city that had an impoverished environment and then a booming environment as split photos. So the city that looked good, that what made the city look good was in the background. And I think it just described how a major city looked like, because the poor was in front of us, and usually that gets ignored for all the big businesses, the booming businesses, and how we look at major cities as major hubs, but we don't really see the downsides of those cities in the backgrounds, because it gets hidden even though it's at the forefront of the cities if you really live there. So next, for journal prompt 3, we looked at an image and we discussed if it was visually appealing and how does it address power, resistance, and truth. What was appealing about the image was how the protesters were fighting for the truth and how there was a bunch of different messages and they were all fighting together, they were all protesting together, and that's what really stood out the most to me. And yeah, it was really a display of how America could really come together and make America a better place without being so extreme on opposite sides, and it really showed how togetherness always works over everything else. So for journal prompt 4, it was a free write, and I just wrote about a lot of my goals, which is to graduate in 4 years. That's my biggest goal, obviously, and to do it while having great grades. And but that's not my main goal. Well, it is my first goal, but not my main goal. My main goal is to connect with people in my school of journalism and to get involved in TV20, and the Flava Sports and the Family One. If I get involved in those, I think it'll give me a lot of experience, as it's what I want to do for my career. And yeah. So for Journal 5, we talked about a writing community and what could be the benefits of a writing community. I think a benefits for a writing community is just it's a space for writing. To have a community is always great because it has a sense of feeling and togetherness, and I think that's what a writing community would bring for everybody. And it will really help improve your writing, because having a lot of people who write a lot will obviously help improve your writing, because they'll see what you can improve on. And I think every writer should join some type of writing community, because it just gives you an advantage, as you can get your work out easier, you can improve better. So yeah, that's what the improvement of a writing community would be. And then for journal prompt 6, we had 2 images. The 2 images were fast food burgers, McDonald's burgers, and one was an ad, and then the other was a real burger. And I think the images worked well together, because it showed real life versus just how companies advertise, and how companies advertise isn't always how it will be. You know, these strategies are worked to obviously have bias and like could be unethical, and it just shows you how don't trust everything you see from these big corporations because it's always some type of money grab. And then for journal prompt 7, we discussed a comic book that had the words like bam and like zap, and it told a story from like just looking at the picture. You probably couldn't see the story, but if you took a deeper look into it with the colors and the words, you could see it was probably like an animation. Well, I thought it was an animation where they had characters who were fighting, and the characters, one character was surprised by getting attacked by another character, and that's where you had the bam zap and the what, like the and then you had the character going okay, and then attacking with other attacks like pow, and the colors also represented like cool colors, and then warm colors which show like two confronting individuals. And yeah. And then journal 8 was another automatic writing, and I just talked about how my internship was going, and how I always wanted to work in some type of sports, and how that's improving me a little bit. And yeah, I think I had a good experience with my internship so far. So, and I wrote about how I can't wait for the people I meet working in the internship, and how my first experience is gonna go well behind the scenes, and it did. For journal 9, I said describe a moment of one of your social media posts, and a post I described was like my senior post for my basketball team. It described my favorite sport playing growing up, and it just had a heartfelt message I feel like only I can understand, and it like took me through the moments throughout my life, not only just in basketball but in general, because of people who I met playing basketball, and like what I did playing basketball, and how it's influenced who I am going to become. So yeah, that's the post that I chose for that. And then for journal prompt number 10, I really talked about like my love for falling in love with talking about sports, especially just like writing about sports, like writing articles, like coming up with like drafts in these leagues. And I think it's something I really enjoy. Sometimes I go over it as like, do I enjoy it too much? But then I realize like this is what I want to do in life, so I don't think I can enjoy it too much. And yeah, I think it just all comes into my desire of wanting to be a sports journalist. So that's what I talked about in my free write. And then for journal prompt 11, it was about what do I really know about reading and writing. What I know is there's a lot to comprehend in reading and writing. There's a lot in reading and writing. It's not just like a basic concept. There's a lot to understand. And for what I want to do, I need to understand more about reading and writing. And I will understand more about reading and writing, hopefully in the future. For journal prompt 7, I talked about how classes have gone well so far. I had a 4.0 GPA in the summer. That might not hold, but I still just want to keep going. I do usually struggle in the second half of school years, and I need that to not happen this semester. And I need to get better with my scheduling. So yeah, that's what I talked about. And then in journal prompt 13, it was a photo of a drunk lady on her couch, and it said, just because she doesn't say no, it said something. Just because she didn't say no doesn't mean something. And it just showed there wasn't really an argument there. It was more of a statement on what's the law. A drunk person cannot consent, and that's the law, and that's what the visual is stating, and it's the truth. So yeah, that's what that was about. And then for journal prompt 14, it was another free write, and I was just talking about homesickness about how I haven't really had it so far. I don't know. I thought I would have it more, but I don't feel it that much. The only thing I miss is really my mom's cooking. So that's why I talked about enjoying Prompt 14. And then for visual Prompt 15, it was the famous VJ Day, Victory in Japan Day photo, where the nurse and the sailor were kissing. And I think it just showed a bunch of excitement in America and connection in America. Everybody was excited, everybody was connected, and like that's just what that moment embodied: excitement, happiness, connection, and everything above, all the above. So yeah, those are all 15 of my journals.